Introducing NASM 1, NASM's ultimate membership program, where the NASM community helps each other build incredible careers, transforming the lives of the clients we inspire and supporting each other as we grow and succeed. NASM 1 is best-in-class tools, cutting-edge certifications, confidence in your craft, and everything you do as a personal trainer made easy.
You're listening to Random Fit with hosts Wendy Batts and Ken Miller, winner of a Gold Markham Award for Digital Media.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Random Fit. I am Wendy Batts here with Ken Miller. Ken, how are you?
Doing great, Wendy. How you doing? You looking good?
I'm good.
Right.
Well, fall is upon us, so I am all about the weather and actually about this week's podcast as well, because we have a very special guest. Today we have Kerri Futrell joining us. She's a product manager and in mainly the fitness segment of the Garmin International. And she's been involved in the design and development of many of the Garmin's key performance features, including training status, training readiness, daily suggested workouts. And the reason we have her on the show today, she's been heavily involved in the HRV status. So let's go ahead and welcome Kerri to the show. Hey there.
Hi. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So what I've been doing as a personal trainer for the last 20 years, just working with people, Kerri, and since implementing wearables, and I know that this is your sweet spot. This is what you do for Garmin. It's opened a whole new category of conversations, if you will, when it comes to the things that I can talk to and discuss with my clients, because if they are wearing their Garmin, right, and I've gotten a few people to make the investment just because I've been using it now for the last 4 or 5 months, and it's just opened my eyes as far as how my body is, my habits, and how my body responds to those habits. Now with my clients, it's opened up those same conversations, and if anything, it's opened up their eyes towards, oh, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. And in this episode of Random Fit, we were talking about sleep and its effect on recovery and how it can be a secret weapon. So just to start us off, Kerri, how much or how does sleep affect recovery?
Yeah. Sleep is really, it's plays such a critical role in our recovery. It's really necessary for our bodies to function properly. Especially if you're someone that's training, maybe you're, training for a race, got a marathon coming up or something. Sleep is even more critical at that time. That's when your body, needs that time to allow your cells and your muscle tissue to repair and grow after that exercise stimulus. So, getting inadequate sleep, that can have a really bad downstream effect. That can result in, some cases that could increase risk of training injuries. That could also compromise your immune system, increase your chances of getting sick. So all of those things really kind of go to show how important of a role sleep plays in our recovery. And I think, like you said, with wearables now, it's just amazing the wealth of data that you can get, and that, it really helps someone see, what their habits are, what their lifestyle is, and get that data and be able to make informed decisions based on that data.
Well, Kerri, this actually brings me to the question, I know all wearables are different and everyone's kind of got their own slight way of measuring things. But with the Garmin and the way that we look at our sleep score, what are the major factors that contribute to that?
Yeah. When talking about the sleep score, so there's a lot of components that go into it, and it's something that you can get on a lot of different wearables today. Typical duration, your overall sleep duration is something that's going to be taken into effect. That's going to differ. How much sleep you need is going to differ, based on your age, and that can also differ, based on stress and other factors going on in your life. Other pieces that are taken into account include how much time you spend awake. So maybe like you're in bed from 10 p.m. to 6 p.m., but maybe you were awake for 2 hours of that, or you were tossing and turning for 2 hours of that. So that doesn't really count toward your overall duration. Also, the amount of time that you spend in different stages of sleep. So, whether how much light sleep you were getting, and then deep and REM sleep, those are really important. So whether you were getting enough sleep in each of those stages. Something else that we track on Garmin wearables is your stress, your average stress overnight. And this, combined with looking at the duration and the stages can really tell you how restorative your sleep was, how much you were able to recharge overnight. And that stress, we determine that by looking at a combination of heart rate and heart rate variability data. And through that, we can tell, whether your body is in a relaxed state or if it's in a high stress state. And all of that combined, we take all of that information and boil it up into a sleep score that makes it easy for someone to understand whether their night of sleep was excellent or good or fair or poor.
Right. Because Wendy and I actually talked about this a couple months ago when we talked about measuring our sleep. And I think we both, Wendy, we both had the same reading. Like your sleep was too short, but essentially it said, but that's okay because you had enough deep sleep. And it's funny because looking at my watch this morning, I had 5.5 hours of sleep. Yeah, it was not good sleeping behavior. I was not protecting my sleep. So 5.5 hours, but I had 55 minutes of deep sleep, right? And this just goes back to conversations I've had with my clients to where it's like, yeah, you say you're in bed for 8 hours, but you had 30 minutes of deep sleep, or you spend a lot of time being awake because the kids are walking in, the dog is barking early in the morning or late at night. So that sleep quality, as far as those between the deep and the active or awake, that's been a big topic that I've been able to cover with my clients that I haven't been able to cover before. So from your end, how have you seen or discussed with athletes or users of Garmin to, as far as the quality of information of, those 4 stages of sleep? So how has that helped athletes that you mentioned, like the one you mentioned that is perhaps running a marathon?
Yeah. I think paying attention to your sleep, you can use that to inform what your training sessions might look like. So, for example, let's say you got a poor night of sleep. You had, maybe some intense sprint workout planned for the next morning. But, knowing, okay, maybe my stress was higher overnight. I didn't get enough time in all these stages, and, that's resulting in this poor sleep score. That can mean that you're not going to reap the benefits from that sprint workout or that really intense workout. Not to say, don't do anything, but it might be better, to say, okay, today, I'm going to back it off. Maybe I'll just do an easier workout, or I'll swap my workouts around. Still going to do something, but I'll just keep it easy. And then, maybe make a conscious effort to get a good night's sleep tonight, and then plan on tomorrow doing that workout, that hard workout that I had planned. So, I think you can kind of use it in a way to inform your training sessions, and try to optimize your training so that you get the most benefits. Your body's able to reap the benefits, and really, adapt from those hard training sessions. And that is something that we do already on some of our Garmin wearables. We have workout suggestions, daily workout suggestions that we provide, both running and cycling workouts. And those workouts can change based on sleep. So kind of like what I was saying, if you had a hard workout, if you sleep poorly, then you might wake up in the morning and see, oh, I've got a new workout today because today's not going to be the best day to do that really intense sprint workout anymore.
I love it. Well, today on Random Fit, we're talking sleep recovery's secret weapon with myself, Ken Miller. And we have our very special guest, Kerri Futrell, joining us from Garmin. And she's talking a lot about sleep and the importance of it. But Kerri, you also, because when we're talking about HRV, I mean, that stands for heart rate variability. We know that. And we know that when you're tracking it and you're using your devices, that in the very beginning, it won't give you a number that's accurate because it takes some time. How long is a suggested time to get like a good baseline? And then of course, this is the end question that everybody wants to know. Am I good or am I bad? So what is a good number or a good range?
Yeah, sure. So heart rate variability, that's something that's seems like it's becoming more common to be able to track on a lot of different wearables. It can be hard though, like you're saying, to know, how do I interpret this information? What do I do with it? What's good or bad? I think it's common to want to compare to someone else of like, oh, I got this number. What did you get? Oh, mine's lower. Is that bad? Is that good? One thing that's really important with understanding heart rate variability, and I guess just, in simple terms, heart rate variability, it's telling you what it's measuring is the amount of variation from beat to beat in your heart. The more variation there is, that's an indication that your body is in more of a rested and relaxed state. The less variation there is, that's a sign that your body is in more of a stressed state. But again, there's a lot of variables at play. And so just knowing like higher tends to be relaxed, lower tends to be stressed, like that still doesn't quite get you all the way there. What's really important is learning, what's a normal range of values for me. And so that's something that on several of our wearables, we have something called HRV status. And over about a 3-week period, we'll build up. If you wear the watch to sleep, it's using your overnight HRV. Will measure HRV all during your entire sleep period and figure out, what your average HRV was for that night. Over about 3 weeks, we'll continue to build it up even after that. We'll determine, okay, this seems to be a normal range for your heart rate variability. Once we've built that up, then we can look and see, okay, what has your HRV been recently, in the last 7 days, just to kind of average out, get rid of spikes that might not really be meaningful. Then you can see, okay, my recent HRV is within what my watch is telling me is my baseline range. So that's a good indication that your body is in a balanced state, and any stressors that you're putting on it, whether that be from, training stress or, work stress, family stress, anything, travel even, that your body is adapting to all of that well.
I'm laughing, Kerri, just because Ken and I, we travel a lot together and we are super competitive. And so we're sending each other our data and I'm like, mine's better than yours. And he's like, no, your numbers are wrong. And so we have no idea what we're doing, but it's actually like it's not good to be competitive when you're looking at your own stats.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. And I think especially, if we're talking about athletes or people that are training for things, they tend to be competitive. And so it's like kind of in your nature to want to say like, oh, look, my number is better than yours. But really it's tempting to do that. But really, what's most meaningful, what's really actionable about heart rate variability is, knowing whether you're inside of your normal range and seeing if, your recent HRV, if it's dipped below what your normal range is, that's maybe something to pay attention to, that, okay, I might be more stressed than usual. And kind of, you can look at that and think about, okay, what are some things in my life or training that could be causing that? If I've ramped up my training a lot, maybe I'm not recovering enough and I need to back off or take some easy days. Maybe I'm not getting enough sleep, or I'm not getting quality sleep. Back to that can definitely have an impact on your HRV. Maybe I'm stressed about something in my life or in work. All of those things can have a role in your HRV. And so it's kind of informs how your body is responding and kind of lets you take action based on that information.
Yeah. And I want to share a little something, as far as how I've used HRV, because like you said, Kerri, HRV is something that's been, you're definitely able to use that on your Garmin, but other wearables are measuring HRV. Mm-hmm. But when I've talked to clients about the importance of understanding what your individual heart rate variability is that I give them the example of when I was out of country. There were 2 conferences that I traveled to back, and we're talking about a 9-10 hour difference in time zone. So, as things go, when you're out of country, you don't have a car, I go from 10,000, 11,000 steps to 21,000, 23,000 steps a day, every day. And on top of that, I'm sleeping in a hotel, early mornings, late nights, talking to our hosts or conference coordinators, plus the stress of presenting. And you have a flight that's 11 hours long, and I may have gotten 2 hours sleep in that. So I could see my heart rate variability just taking a dive, right? Activity is going up. My daily activity is going up, but my sleep has gone down and sleep has gone down and my HRV came down. So lo and behold, 2 days after I get home, I get one of the harshest colds I've had in a year or year and a half too. I don't really get sick, but I just remember this one just taking me out. And I bring that up because I've had clients that are CEOs and executives that do that bi-coastal, occasional international trip. And it's the same thing, morning breakfast with clients or higher ups, dinners, sleep is the same, jet lag is the same, and their heart rate variability, now that they know what that feature is, then they're able to understand, like, well, maybe this is not the day for me to have a strength or a power day in the gym, even though that's what's on the calendar. So I just have to tell them, watch this, and that will help determine that, right? So you watch your activity, your sleep, your HRV being the ultimate one that you want to look at, and then let that kind of guide you on how to take on the workout or make the modifications for on the road. Because when you're on the road, that's not the time to try to achieve gains. That's when you just want to maintain. So you bring up some really good things. So I'm just going to send this clip to my clients and say, see, this is what Kerri said, and this is why you need to start paying closer attention when you're on the road.
Yeah.
And Kerri, with what Ken's said, obviously I can relate. I just came back from South Korea. That was a little bit crazy, but can you talk a little bit about the relationship between HRV and sleep?
Yeah, definitely. So, I think what you might see, typically if all things are good, you're getting good sleep. When you're sleeping, your HRV is going to be at its highest, because that's when your body is in a relaxed state. And so, that's really, that window during sleep is really a great time to be able to measure it, because it's kind of capturing when you should be most relaxed, and it's a consistent period of time. So it's also helpful to be able to use that window of time to build up, kind of what your normal baseline range is. What you will see, also is, let's say, you slept poorly. You may also be pretty likely to see a lower than normal HRV during your sleep. So those are kind of related in that way, that low HRV tends to have some association with poor sleep, and that's because your body is probably under more stress than usual, and that could be due to a number of reasons. Yeah, definitely travel is a big one. International travel is definitely tough, and just throws your schedule off completely. And you aren't able to get as restful of sleep, even if you are getting enough hours of sleep. It's gonna disrupt your rhythm and kind of throw a wrench in there. And so, yeah, you will see, with that poor sleep, you may be likely to see low HRV scores as well.
Now, when you are looking at in the example that we've been talking about now is just jet lag and changing time zones. But for that person that is traveling, and I have a buddy who just traveled from the West Coast to Texas and just finished a Spartan race, or a series of Spartan races. But because of the back-to-back of these 3 races that he did, now that I've instructed him, a little bit about what I know about heart rate variability, part of the conversation now lies in, you got to give your body time to rest and recover. So we're talking about sleep and HRV. Now, if you can expand on the role of HRV and recovery just a little bit more, just so that when my buddy Richie is listening to us, somebody who does, he's training for a 50K, he does these trifectas with Spartan races, but how should he be using now HRV in terms of planning out not just his training schedule, but now his recovery schedule?
Yeah, I think that's a really good example to bring up of races, especially the back-to-back ones. That's going to put a lot of additional stress and strain on your body. I think it's kind of what we were talking about before, of just looking at, is your HRV in your baseline range, or has it fallen below that baseline range? I think especially after a really hard race, and I would imagine even more so after back-to-back races, that it would be, not unusual to see your HRV dip below your normal range, because those efforts, if, let's say those were max all out efforts, that's going to put a lot of strain on your body, and that's going to take time for your body to recover from that. So, seeing after that, your HRV maybe lower, I think, that's expected. That's normal. I think the thing to watch is, keep an eye on that and see if it rebounds over, the next few nights. And kind of just watch that. If you see it's low, just try to be getting more recovery, really focus on sleep and getting rest, trying to relax during the day when you can, making sure that you're getting enough sleep overnight, not doing too many more hard efforts if you can avoid it. and just watch that number to see if it starts to rebound and come back into your baseline range. And then that's a good sign that your body has started to kind of recover and adapt from those hard efforts.
Well, to kind of piggyback off of that, Kerri, can you talk a lot? I mean, and I don't know if it's even kind of almost the same question, but when you're looking at sleep and HRV, when we're looking to optimize training, if we know that our numbers are low, I know that we should kind of take more of a recovery day. But if we really want to optimize our training or really working with our athletes and we're looking at this data, what's the best way of going about that?
Yeah, I think, those are the sleep and HRV are two really useful metrics to pay attention to inform your training. And I think, the big thing when we're talking about optimizing is, trying to make sure that your body is going to be able to get the impact, the full benefit of that training session. So, just seeing if your sleep is poor, has been poor recently, seeing if your HRV is out of balance, that can be a reason to dial back. Now, maybe last night you got excellent sleep. Maybe you're, really well recovered from recent activities that you've done. Your HRV is balanced. Like everything is pointing to today is a really good day to go and crush it. So like if you had a hard workout plan, like that can be, a really good confirmation that, today, like I should really push it. Like today's going to be a good day. I'm really going to be able to benefit from this hard training. So I should, really give it my all today. So, those, I think it can kind of be used in both ways, both to kind of think about when do I need to dial back or ease up, and when is a good day to really give it a hard effort.
And that's a great point, Kerri. So here we are on Random Fit, and both myself, Ken Miller, and Wendy Batts, we have Kerri Futrell here from Garmin, and we're talking about sleep being the secret weapon with recovery. So I think you bring up a point there you bring up a great point. Not I think you do bring up a great point in that earlier on this episode, you talked about, well, if HRV is low, if your sleep was low, then your feedback from your wearable, from your Garmin, let's just say, is telling you, okay, well, here's a suggestion. Maybe we should back off. But that point you just brought up, Kerri, and a lot of people don't really look at this as I'm looking at it, is that if you slept well, your HRV is higher that day, then that's the day to just drive a truck right through it. That's the day, push yourself, even though, we're always looking, I can kind of look at that door to say, well, maybe I'll just take it easy. Maybe I'll just do some mobility or some core work today, and maybe I won't go on that 2-miler. But if all the signs are there, then why not push yourself? Why not take advantage of it, especially if your body is doing what it's supposed to? After a bout of stress, it rebounds, and then you should have a higher HRV on average, right? If your body is responding well, your sleep score hopefully is reflecting, a body that's ready to go. So from that standpoint, will the exercise recommendation bump you up as well? So if you do have really good readings, will it do the opposite and say, hey, today, instead of what was on the docket for 5K, maybe it's 10K today? Will the feedback say, all right, now let's push it?
Well, so part of the recommendations is, I guess built into that is trying to, make sure that workouts are spaced out accordingly, so we're not giving you back-to-back hard efforts, or we're not giving you, a hard workout and then a long run and then another hard workout, and that, your training load is getting balanced. You're getting a variety of low aerobic, high aerobic, and anaerobic efforts. So, that you're getting all of that stimulus to help improve your fitness. So in those suggestions, you won't see, it go from like a easy base run all of a sudden to a sprint. I think that the big thing though is if you already had that scheduled, that suggestion was already there. That's a really good indicator, like kind of looking at those metrics. We have another one too that encompasses even more, it more holistically, even more metrics about your training and your lifestyle to kind of tell you how ready you are for training. I think looking at that can kind of give you that confirmation or give you that boost that today's the day to really give it my all on this workout.
Well, Kerri, we've talked a lot about, sleep and HRV, but I mean, I know there's a lot of other matrix that are out there, metrics that we need to look at. So can you talk to us a little bit about that and what does Garmin look at specifically? Because I know that's obviously who you work for. And it's also going to let me know even more information about my watch, because this thing does more than like my brain can do. It seems like I'm like, every day I find something new on here. I'm like, oh, check that out. So
yep, it's impressive. It's how much we can track.
And very impressive. But if you could kind of talk about the different metrics, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. So on some of our Garmin wearables, we have a feature that's called training readiness. And that, what I was just saying, it'll give you a score. It's a 0 to 100 score, and it'll tell you, looking at a myriad of data about your training and lifestyle data, it'll tell you how ready you are to train and basically kind of inform you about how well your body is going to benefit from a hard training session. And so, some of the information we look at sleep, we look at last night's sleep score. We also look at your recent sleep. So, last night's sleep score is going to have the most impact, but also, what's your sleep history look like? Have you slept well or slept poorly in recent nights? That's going to have an impact as well on what your overall readiness looks like. We look at your recovery time, which is basically gives us an indication of how recovered you are from recent exercise. So, if you just did a really hard workout yesterday, you're going to have a lot of recovery time from that. And that's going to have an impact on your readiness score. We also look at your acute load, and that's your training load. So all of the load that you've built up from recent training sessions. And we look to see, is your recent load, is that, kind of a normal amount for you, or is that more? Have you been doing more recently? And if you're doing more recently, that could lower your score. If you're kind of within your normal range, that could, kind of keep your score in a better, higher level. And then the HRV status, that plays a role as well, whether you're balanced or unbalanced or low. And then last, we also look at your stress, at what your stress has been recently over the last couple of days. And all of that combined, kind of like we were talking about the sleep score, we take all of this underlying information and then give you a score from all that that's easier to interpret. And you can look at that score and make some judgments off of that of, okay, I see that my score is low today, so maybe I'll take it easy. Or I see that my score is high or even prime today. So man, like that's really good. That's giving me a good confidence boost. Today's a good day to really give it my all.
Kerri, did you just say prime? Mine has never said prime. Mine usually is just like
prime is such
a
rare state to get into, and I don't know.
I'm like, wow, I have never hit that level, so
it's something to look forward to.
The best I ever got was moderate. I and for those of you that are listening to us, I'm actually showing here my little score here. I'm at the green. I got 65, and I'm moderate. Right. And it says here, it's like, hey, I didn't sleep great, but my readiness looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's all I've ever seen is green. I've never gotten into the next higher up is green, blue, and then it goes up into purple. I maybe seen blue once, but I guess I'm not working out hard enough.
Or too hard. I don't know.
or too hard. That's
I
right.
am not sharing mine at all. I just pulled it up. I'm like, wait, what? So
You're orange. I bet
keep
you're
pointing
orange.
to you. Listen to your body. Listen to your body. Your status is low. So, I'm a hot mess, Kerri.
So Kerri, with all of this information on sleep and recovery and training readiness, if somebody wants more information, where can they go as far as Garmin is concerned, and what Garmin has to offer as far as what tools that are available to somebody who is more interested in finding more about themselves and their recovery status?
Yeah, well, we do have a lot of content available on some of our. We have our running science and health science pages, and those kind of do some deep dives into some of this information we've talked about today to help you understand a bit more some of the information about these performance metrics that we've talked about, and some of these health tracking metrics that we've talked about. So those are a great resource to learn more. And that's available on our Garmin.com website.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
So, and Kerri, like one final question, I guess, we've covered a lot of information, and thank you again for your time, because we know you're extremely busy, and I love having you on because I learned something new each and every time I talk to anyone from Garmin, a lot about myself and of course the data. But what would be the key points that you would want to leave the audience before we log off about just HRV, sleep, and just tracking data in general?
I think, one thing I would say is, with all of this, it's kind of, it's more information to inform you and for you to take action on. And so I think, it's still something to utilize, something to maybe pay attention to, what your lifestyle habits are, what your training habits are, and use that information to make informed decisions. I think, it's different metrics. It's still your body, and so it's your it's your choice to kind of make those decisions, make those judgment calls as far as how you utilize that information. So it's just kind of more tools, more data to equip you to make informed decisions about your training and your well-being.
Perfect, because that's exactly what it has meant for myself and my clients. So thanks, Kerri, for explaining basically the ins and outs of wearables, especially with Garmin and some of the metrics that it has to offer. So I consider myself a smarter man now than I was 30 minutes ago. So appreciate you being here, Kerri.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So for those of you listening to us here on Random Fit and this episode of Sleep Recovery's Secret Weapon, on behalf of Wendy Batts and I, we appreciate you and for taking the time to listen to Kerri Futrell from Garmin and this episode of Random Fit. So if you like what you heard today and you want to hear more from us, like, follow, subscribe, download, and more importantly, share. Let others in your life that have common interests with random fitness know what we have to offer, because we're trying to offer you everything you want to know about random fitness stuff. So until next time, everybody, take care and be well.